I don't know how we're going to start this, but we're just going to start it. So how about, it's like, Welcome to Another Day in Paradise by Strung Out.
So, what year did this album come out?
1994, like specifically June 20th, 1994. And it was the debut album for Strung Out on Fat Records.
Oh yeah, this is a good album. I really
Yeah.
like this record. I I played it a lot in college radio, like a lot.
You're like, probably an annoying amount. People were like, who is this guy?
Well, Strung Out's like one of those bands that I probably played every show. Um, I wouldn't always play the same song, but I could easily play multiple tracks off this record.
I tried not to on any of my shows just because like Strung Out is like one of my favorite bands, and so was Bad Religion was one of my favorite bands. So like I tried not to.
Oh no, I would play Bad Religion. I actually did Bad Religion blocks at like 2 o'clock or something like that. So I'd play like 4 Bad Religion songs, and usually they'd be done in about 10 minutes, so it was easy.
Well, I felt super obligated to play Bad Religion since I went to a Catholic university.
Right, there you go.
Just just stick it in there, the knife a little deeper.
But we're talking about Strung Out,
Yes.
and I could play stuff off of many of their albums, but I did like playing songs off this record. So this came out in '94, and of course produced by Fat Mike.
Oh, yeah, well, I just don't think they had the money to produce anything.
Right, to pay any of those high-priced producers.
Yeah.
I get it.
or a friend of his or something. It says like all the lyrics were written by Jason Cruz except some by Jim Cherry, who was the bass player, or he still is, I think. I'm really bad with names, especially men's names with J's. There's just too many.
There's too many J's in the world. Jordan, Jason, John,
There's
Jeremiah.
3 J names in this band already, so yeah, that's why I'm like, they're lovely people. I met them several times. They're very nice people, but like, I can't decipher half of them.
We're gonna go back though to Jim Cherry. He actually passed away in July 7th, 2002. So he's been gone for a while. It looks like he died of a congenital heart condition. So kind of sad to talk about, but it does happen, and it's good for fans to know these things.
Yeah, I mean, it's also kind of nice because his writing, it looks like, was definitely sprinkled throughout this album as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's a good memory for sure.
Right, like he wrote. When you're looking at the track list here, he wrote Mad Mad World, which is probably my favorite song on the record. So there we go. Right.
Yeah. Now I'm wondering if he did more of like the hardcore like type songs they have, and maybe like Jason did more of the skate punk kind of versions. I don't know.
Maybe Jim did a lot of stuff on this record. So
yeah, that's, I'm like, interesting. And it says all guitar leads are by Rob Ramos as well. But yeah, these are the people that were in the band at this time of when the record was recorded.
Right.
Jason Cruz, lead vocals, Jake Kiley, guitar, Rob Ramos, guitar, Jordan Burns, drums, Jim Cherry, bass, Donald Cameron was the engineer, Fat Mike was the producer, and Ed Schreier did the math.
Schreier, maybe? Schreier?
Yeah. we're circling it.
Yeah, we got you.
We got you. I probably listened to this album to refresh myself for about a week. How is this something better or less, or how?
So like I said, I used to play this album a lot on my old, when I did college radio, and so I'm very familiar with a lot of it. I did do a listen with the lyrics though, just so I could really be prepared, and I remember this album pretty well. It's got a lot of awesome licks. It's got that cool, that metal influence that a lot of Fat Records, early Fat bands seem to have in their music, like Lagwagon, as well, right? They've got this sort of not so subtle metal influence, especially in the leads, right? Like a lot of the leads on this album, they're not necessarily these long drawn out solos, but they're short and they're sweet, and they've got that sort of like power metal kind of feel to it, where they want to like go out into a solo, but they just kind of give you like a shortened version of it. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, they give you really good embellishments.
Right, exactly. And of course, there's a lot of metal riffing as well, couched into the song.
I'm kind of a slut for that. That's probably
I love it. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. So this album runs just shy of 30 minutes, which is really cool and makes it extra punk. So it's not even a half hour.
Yeah. I don't like longer albums anymore because of shit like this.
I like long albums, but only when it's like, oh, this album has like 8 songs on it, and then you listen to it and it's like, an hour and 15 minutes. You're like, oh, okay, that was satisfying because it's 8 songs stretched out. When I see like 13 songs, I'm like, man, I hope this is a punk album.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, please be fast.
I think if you like sat me down and was like, I need you to listen to this Tool album, it might kill me a little bit. Like back in the day, it wouldn't have bothered me, but like now I'm like, oh my god, this is so long.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Or like doom metal would probably drive me crazy.
Right, like some sludge metal where it's just like just these long drawn out chords. You're like, stop, put it on fast.
And it has nothing to do with the content of it. It's really just the length. Like,
right.
I'm just like, I don't know what happened. I think it's the pandemic made my attention span even smaller than it was. But here we are.
Yeah.
You want to get into it as far as like kind of songs? I know we kind of probably going to skip over a couple like we do just because,
sure.
It is 13 songs.
I did. I have notes for every song. Some more notes than others. So
yeah, same. Well, let's definitely talk about the first track. I'll just start out with, I feel like every Strung Out album has like some weird epic intro for no reason, and I love it. And this one
totally.
kind of has the same. I think this is where that kind of started. Like they're like, okay, we're gonna do like you're in this album kind of effect every time. I think this is where it started, honestly. What do you think?
I mean, it's definitely like a hallmark of Strung Out, right? Like, as I went and listened to this record in general, like a lot of the tracks on here, they start with like, they all have cool intros. Like none of them start with singing. They all start with like some sort of riff, a guitar line, some sort of drumming intro or something like that, right? So none of them just start off with just like singing, which is cool. And it's very much like kind of like definitely a like a feature now of like Strung Out, I think, in general. And so I appreciate it.
I do. I don't know. It just adds dramatic flair for no reason. But I appreciate it.
Like that sort of thing maybe wasn't considered punk in the 70s, like that little flashiness, but it's not the same type of punk rock music, right? This isn't the Ramones. It's not the Clash or the Damned or the Sex Pistols, right?
Yeah,
so that sort of,
the Ramones didn't really start doing that kind of thing until they met like Phil Spector, really. Like
no, there was no Flash. They were just like guitar, drums, vocals, I guess bass too, right? So
yeah.
I mean, they have basses.
Was there basses?
But it's like they were just like no Flash. The Clash and the Damned weren't that way either, if you look at their early stuff. But it's like a new era. We're like in a new era where guitar lines aren't looked down on as much, right? And drawn out intros, like that's a thing. So
yeah, I would say it's a relatively unused or kind of new thing in punk at this time, right. Honestly. Because I think most punk from like the 70s, 80s up until this point were kind of low produced anyway, just because of the cost of making an album and the technology at the time. So, I mean, I think in the 90s, we were finally getting better technology.
Right. Things got cheaper.
So you can do Yeah, you can do more stuff like this and experiment a
Yeah.
little bit easier in a
Yep.
shorter amount of time. Because like any experimental album that was made in like the 70s took like months, weeks, like what have you, to even do like something kind of cool. And obviously Strung Out doesn't have like Zeppelin
No.
money, you know, so so what do you think about Population
Um,
Control as
it's a
a
good
whole?
song. I mean, it's a good intro song. I thought the lyrics, they kind of reminded me of like how parents in the 80s and 90s, this is lyrically, I guess, like they were always like, don't believe
Yeah,
everything you see on TV. Like they were always telling me that.
yeah.
Which it just makes me think about those same people today believe
I know, right?
everything that like the news is telling them, specifically, very
Yeah.
particular news, right? And it's like, come on.
Yeah, it's just weird that knowing that I would say we grew up in this era of like, don't believe everything and read what you will into things at this time is completely
And
like
now it's
180.
like everyone believes everything they read and see, but they tell you not to believe what the other person's believing and seeing. So it's
Yeah.
so it's such a I think a couple of the songs actually on this album are very like prescient in that. Like
Yeah.
there's another track down the line that we'll talk about where I definitely feel is a little predictive.
Yeah, I will say this
So
song kind of sets the theme and the stage for all of that later on because they do have like a lot of similar things and stuff. I will say for this song, I kind of musically, I think it kind of gives you a little bit of everything about what this band can do musically. Like they're gonna give you guitar
mhm.
riffs, they're gonna give you these kind of crazy yet insightful lyrics, and the drumming on this album is ridiculous.
Oh, Strung Out has one of the best drummers in
Yeah,
punk.
it's just sickening.
Jordan
Yeah,
Burns here on this record.
he's
He's
I've seen him
fantastic.
before. He's phenomenal, phenomenal. That's why I'm just like, how do you, how are you this a good of a drummer like from day one? Like this,
Just don't click the Wikipedia
yeah,
link, because it links to a basketball player also named Jordan Burns. So
good to know.
just don't do that. Yeah,
I was like, wow, what a talented person.
right, right. Okay, so next song, Lost. I didn't have much insight about this song
Lost.
other than this song hits harder today than when I first
Oh,
heard it. That was sort of like my take on
okay.
it. And probably when you're young, right? And that's the first
Yeah.
line, when I was young, right? America meant to me. Like I love the music to this
Oh
song,
yeah.
but like I think about like being a kid at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and what I thought America was, to being like in a the age I am now and be like, it's just not the same.
Yeah, that opening line kind of reminds me of like an essay you would write in the second grade, like
Totally.
before 4th of July.
Right.
I think it's a song just about the disillusionment of like the American dream. Is pretty.
It's a very 90s thing, I
Yes,
think, as well.
we've talked about
uh
other albums with the same kind of consciousness happening. I think at this time, which is I don't know. I might have to look
uh
into it more, like historically.
I don't know what was going on either. I do remember though, when I was a junior in high school in the 90s, we had to make a film. Like we had to make an actual film about the
Uh,
American dream. So I also went to a Catholic high school, right? So my group got together and basically I wrote and produced this short film, and it was called The Lost
yeah.
Dream. And I'll very quickly give you the plot
Uh,
synopsis. The first scene essentially shows a working man living the American dream with his nuclear
yeah.
family. He works at a bank, right? He's successful. He's got a car, a house. His wife is dutifully cooking dinner. The kids are getting good
Yeah.
grades, right? And then everything crashes. He gets fired from his bank. He gets fired from his job. This is and then his car breaks down, and he's distraught, he's depressed, and he wants to take his family out to dinner that night. And the wife's like, no, I've already cooked. And he's so upset and angry by what's happened in his life. He blows up his house.
That was your poetic ending.
That was the lost dream. Well, and then there was one survivor, the son, who ended up a one-armed homeless man. The film is framed by him meeting this young up-and-coming businessman who works at a bank at a bus station, which is totally unrealistic because they would be driving, but they're at a bus station. And at the end, so the homeless man tells this story to this guy saying, look, don't get, pretty much like saying, you remind me of my father. And he doesn't want him to turn out that way. And the guy simply dismisses him as a crazy homeless person.
Yeah.
And that was the lost dream. And I want to say, like, a good percentage of these student films for junior English were very much like this, where they thought that the American dream was not necessarily this thing that they can get. It was very interesting, especially at a privileged Catholic high school.
Yeah, I like how that all came from a place of classism versus like me going to public school.
Right.
The only people I ever really hear talk about the American dream are actual immigrants. Mm-hmm. Or conservatives, like the ends of the spectrum.
right. But they're very different things to both
yeah
people.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like,
it's very interesting.
Immigrant entrepreneurs here always talk about the American dream and very high ideals and a thing to aspire to, so like it can be a positive thing, but then I also like, see it people use as a prop, so
right. I think the American dream to conservatives is this idealized version of America. It is a dream. It doesn't actually exist, right? So it's something they've always just had in their heads. To immigrants, like you said, it's something like they can actually attain, right? Like they're reaching for that. It's very, very, very interesting, difference there. But yeah, that's where I went with Lost, right? I'm sorry to diverge into such a weird anecdote, but there you go. If anyone wants to produce a reboot of the Lost Dream, please contact us.
I said it's just like a super melodic song. Obviously, there's some great snare work in there if you're like into that kind of thing. There are a lot of woes in this.
This album has a lot of Bad Religion influence. It's very clear.
Yeah, I know. Woes in the 90s is just like a thing.
Right.
It's a thing and it's okay.
It is okay. Hey, we like it.
I think it works in most things. I wouldn't say it works in everything, but I would.
You wouldn't want it in your metal.
It works in this song. It works in every AFI song if you really want my opinion. But I was like, I'm okay with it. But it always distracts me because like that stupid NoFX song, how it was or whatever. Yeah. So
can't play this song. Don't play this song on the radio.
Ever since I've heard it, it has ruined my brain. So like every time I hear woes and punk, I'm just like, that's another one for the list. I once made a playlist for my radio show with just songs with woes. That's
awesome though. That's really good. It was probably a good playlist.
It was, yeah. But I think it gets to be too much. Like halfway through, you're okay.
Like, oh, whoa.
Well, yeah. So I was like, this is the first of many. I'm just gonna warn anybody that hasn't ever listened to this album.
Right.
Prepare yourself. It will be in there.
What about? Let's talk about "Drag Me Down."
Okay, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of it. It's like we're dragged down by our friends, our outside sources, environments, and then just the act of that, I guess.
I had an interesting take on it. I don't think anyone's dragging him down. I think he's dragging himself down.
I think that's part of it.
Right, that's like I think where they're actually going. Even though he says he's kind of talking about another person, I feel like that's another persona, because one of the last lines in the song is killing another part of me. So I felt it was very much like, even though maybe it seemed like they were discussing another person, that other person is themselves, and that
I kind of see it like a nesting doll effect. Like you yourself is the little one in the middle that you're fucking your
Right.
own life up, right? And then you have like your circle of friends is like the next layer that kind of is like probably not a great influence on you. Sure, great. And then you have like all the societal like things that drag you down, like not being rich enough or not being whatever, on top of that. It's like the opposite of building yourself up, the community up. It's like literally just the imploding of those
Right.
things.
But the other thing that I think is interesting is he talks about you gave into your vice so quickly, right? So well, that's why I kind of feel like it's a personal struggle as opposed to like one that involves like other people, at least in this situation where it's like,
Yeah.
you gave into your vice. Well, he's talking about himself. Now I die alone among these people I don't know, right? But the vice is what is taking him to these people that he doesn't know because he wants to maybe drink, right? So he just goes to the bar or someplace else, and it's like, and faces I've not seen, right? So what faces hasn't he seen? Your masquerade, it made me blind, right? So this vice is what's made him blind, and ultimately, like I said, trying to kill another part of me, or I must kill another part of me.
Yeah.
He wants to stop this vice. So I don't know. That's where I saw it.
I mean, I think we're kind of saying the same
but
things.
I think you can take it
differently,
either way, and that's kind of the beauty of art and poetry, right? Like you can interpret things. I like when artists leave things up to us. I know some people were like, I need you to write an essay alongside this song on what the lyrics mean, but that's not me. I'm kind of this old school artistic interpretation can go, multiple ways. And so
yeah.
And there's no wrong, there's no right, I think sometimes, unless they came out of the computer and said, no, look, this is exactly what we meant by these lyrics. And
yeah, I mean, oh god, what song where I was just like really mad that I like messed it up? So They Might Be Giants. Oh my god. Is it Birdhouse
I
in
was
Your
gonna
Soul?
say that's probably the next one.
Okay, so I literally for decades thought that song was about love, like just being something to everybody, being the light that shines on you. Like it all makes sense to me, and I'm like, oh, it's what a beautiful song about love. It's about being a fucking nightlight.
Yeah, that actually that fits with They Might Be Giants, right? Like that's right in line with their
I felt like I had this deep interpretation. I mean, sure, it is subjective. It could be an allegory for love. Who knows? But honestly, I seriously think it's just about being a fucking nightlight.
It's like how some people think the song I Ran by Flock of Seagulls is like sort of a love story, but it's not. Yeah. It's about an alien abduction. It totally is. I mean, if we have to go over the lyrics, I happily will, but read the lyrics on your own time. It's about an alien abduction. Okay, I'm telling you.
I believe it. Totally. It was the 80s. It makes sense to me. I've never did deep thoughts into 80s dance music of any sort because I just assume it's all nonsense, except for maybe Depeche Mode. But
some of it is nonsense.
So, I believe it. Let's get into I think the best track of this album.
What do you think about In Harm's Way?
I think it's the best track on the album. I think I kind of said it. This is actually the first Strung Out song I've ever heard.
Is it really? Wow, okay.
Because it was on Fat Music for Fat People.
It was, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, and the irony is I really liked this track on that comp a lot. And for some reason it took me like, I don't know, like 8 years later for me to like actually get into this band.
Sure, that makes sense.
Even though I did like this song, would never skip it. I probably listened to it a couple times, like if it was in the car or something. But
it's a good song.
I don't know.
It's a good song.
I think it's like just great classic like skate punk song. And it has like really interesting sections in it too, like musically. Like it's very skate punk, but it also has like this weird like ska pickup guitar kind of section in it. And then it's like, oh, let me give you some like a little bit of metal right after that for some reason.
Right.
And then it has like a melodic bridge and a chorus, and then it goes back to skate punk, and then we're out. Like it's just like a crazy ride for like a minute.
So one of my notes here is I wrote that I think this is a top-notch Strung Out song, and it has their best writing. And talking about writing, just like, also let's go back to the lyrics. I thought it was a really good takedown of America in the 90s, but it's an even better takedown of America in the 2020s. Like, even better. Like,
oh yeah, no, it resonates even better today. I mean, like,
songs that do that, I love them.
Well, it aged very well.
Yeah, exactly. And the melodies are really good. The guitar lines and the riffs, the bridge is fucking fantastic. All around, In Harm's Way, just thumbs up. You can't see the thumb if you're listening, but
it's there. I would say what's also interesting on the song is it sounds very upbeat and kind of happy, but it's actually a really bleak song.
That's this album in general.
Yeah. I didn't realize what a bummer this album was until I had to look at it as a whole. Because, like, honestly, I think most of us listen to music kind of song by song.
Yeah.
And not necessarily in an album order, especially now, like, that streaming's the way that it is. But, like, yeah, when I was looking through this whole thing, I was like, God, this gets pretty bleak the deeper you get.
There's a lot going on. I really wonder what was happening in the lives of Strung Out while they were making this album. Because there's a lot of sadness on this record. And that's one of the things that I start noting, like, as you get deeper into the album. There's a lot of songs that are very much like, we already talked about Drag Me Down, right? Which is about succumbing to vices or society's, pressure on you, and how, like, we have to, like, or how he wants to kill another part of himself he's not happy with.
Yeah, like, my note on this is, like, the song's bleak just because they believe that this will still keep happening. Like, there's a cycle that has no end.
And speaking of cycles that have no end, the next song, Talking to Myself, is about a cycle that almost has no end.
So Talking to Myself.
Yes, Talking to Myself, which at first...
It's not my favorite. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm sorry?
It's probably my least favorite track on the album.
It wasn't my favorite either. But the lyrics are just about being stoned.
I said it seems pretty autobiographical.
Right. Like, I mean, it's just like sort of about being stoned, going through life and, like, kind of upset, and then just getting stoned again to, like, make it better. And it's just like kind of like an endless circle, which is what I
will say it's a pretty written song about getting stoned. Most of them are kind of like mediocre and very rudimentary lyrics about getting stoned. So, like,
it doesn't glorify getting stoned, though, which is, I think, a lot of songs about getting high are just sort of about how fun it is, which it is fun, but, like, it's not always fun. I have a little personal take, like, where is it? Getting high and disassociating and, like, snapping out of it, and then, getting high again. Like, I've done that, right? It's not, like, always the best thing, but it's like, it happens, and
it's a means to an end,
and it didn't glorify it. It's totally the opposite. It's a fast punk rock track, but I actually thought it was deep. Even though it's not my favorite song, I thought it was kind of deep, because it's like, yeah, I get this. Like, I felt it, I guess, on, like, on a level.
I don't think it's their fault. I think other people's bad songs about weed have just ruined it.
Right, totally.
Yeah, unless you're Cypress Hill, I really don't want to hear about weed. Sorry.
Right.
I don't know. I think they just like peaked at that shit, and, like, I don't think anybody can go past that.
No. I mean, it's still kind of a genre of music, but
yeah, Hits from a Bong is a freaking opus.
Right.
Sorry, like,
all right.
This is a very pretty written song about getting stoned, but I do like the fact that it's not, like, very romanticized.
No, it's not. It's actually kind of one of the more realistic depictions of getting high. What about the next song then, Broken?
Broken? Yeah, that's definitely probably one of my top tracks for this one.
It's a standout track. It's standout.
The drumming in this one is amazing.
Oh, yeah. uh,
I get really hype about it.
totally. Very good guitar solo that I felt was extremely Bad Religion-esque.
Yeah.
It kind of towards the
I
end,
think
but
one of my favorite things about this band is like they kind of throw a lot at you, and it just works. I mean, it's kind of hard to process because there's so much shit happening, but like there's all this amazing drum work. It almost sounds kind of like Latin influence because of just like some of the toms and some of the types of drums they're using. But then they have like these really good like melodies.
It has that cool little a cappella harmony break, like in the
Yeah.
middle with no other music, just vocals.
Yeah, it's not. I think I wrote it down. It says noises, the ones you hear in your mind, is like when they all sing that together.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic.
It's a good song. Lyrically, I didn't write much about that in the notes, but it's about a broken relationship, and that's a relatable subject,
Yeah, I kind of said it broken refers to like broken promises, maybe like shattered reality, like something in your life is broken somehow. Whether you did it or it's just happening, but it's there. I mean, broken to me is probably like broken promises, and you're just kind of dealing with the fallout, of whatever that may be. But I don't think it really goes too much into it, and as far as lyrics. But I'm also very distracted by everything else.
The music, it's probably my second favorite track on the record. Yeah. Like musically, I really enjoy it. Great harmonies, great melodies.
No, the harmonies are stupid.
Yeah,
I love how they harmonize. I think more punk bands should utilize that in certain aspects. I mean, depending on the type.
Right.
It's like for skate punk, I think it works really well, and I don't know.
The skate punk genre was built around harmonies. Come on.
I mean, but they also like, especially I think at this period in their career, they're like half skate punk, half just like old school hardcore.
Yeah.
And then like 10% like I was a really big Thin Lizzy fan or something. It's like how I kind of see the pyramid forming there.
Yeah.
But... the next song, for example, Ashes, I would say it's probably like the most metal track.
That's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
Totally what I said. It's the most metal of the songs on this album. Really good riffs, awesome build-ups, sweet drumming on this track.
I kind of believe this is like a little peep in the keyhole, kind of like to what they're going to end up sounding like later on in their career.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is crazy that, throughout this entire album with all this stuff going on, like this is the one key to like what they will become. And you probably no one ever thought that, like listening to this album initially when it came out. They're just, I mean, unless you're like an oracle of some sort, like you would not see this band becoming more of this sound versus the other influences they're using in this album.
And another one of those great classic intros by the band, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And the music just and the singing builds up. Oh, they had two really like great musical tracks back to back. Not like the other songs aren't great musically, but like I think these are like standout songs on the record.
Yeah, exactly. As far as like what the song's probably about, honestly, I think it's just about crashing and bursting and just crashing and burning. Like
it seemed to be about slowly losing yourself to maybe like an addiction, possibly.
That's what
maybe from the singer's POV, trying to break away from that person lost in the addiction. Again, this is another kind of bleak track lyrically. I think another sad song, but masked by manic music, right?
Yeah. I mean,
it says a lot, I think.
Yeah, as I say, that's why I use like the phrase crashing and burning, because burning refers to like what ashes would be after that. Sure. But yeah, it's the most like metal kind of hardcore song.
Nice.
The next song is I don't know if I'm saying it right. Falter?
I think it's Falter, and I like the wordplay there.
Yeah.
Because that's not how you spell, like if you're like the actual term falter, but then they add the word fault in there as part of the spelling, Ulter. So it's like you caused yourself to fall. It's very clever, I thought.
I thought it was a last name or something. I'm like,
Oh no, no, yeah. The intro, this is another song. The intro goes hard on this song, right? Really good
especially
intro.
towards the end of an album. Like, what are you guys doing?
This is a great guitar track for the album. I think they really focused on the guitar work a lot here.
Yeah.
I'm more into the music on this one than the lyrics.
You know, like I was trying to think of what kind of bands influenced them before making this album. Like what kind of, I guess, like what kind of metal would probably influence like guitar work. I always think like Thin Lizzy, or like Bob Seger or something. Like I feel like they were into those kind of,
I think Iron
70s
Maiden.
era bands,
I think like
right?
Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
Like that band to me is one of those bands that I think a lot of punks liked, because it was like early metal before it was like really mainstream. And plus, like wearing an Eddie t-shirt, I always thought was like, when I was a kid in the 80s, when I would see an Iron Maiden shirt, I thought that was really fucking edgy. Like like Eddie, I thought was like, whoa, look at that dude. And you would see him in like crazy poses, Iron Maiden, you know, logo behind him, and I was like, damn, whoever listens to Iron Maiden is hard.
Do you think it's edgy now?
Do I think it's edgy now? No, not anymore, because now we see like these unironic people posting like skeletons with guns pointed at that says like, hey liberal, you know, I shat my pants or something like that. Like it's just weird memes. So like I'm
the part of the internet I don't want to be on.
I'm on the cringiest parts of the internet, but I do it for everyone else so that they don't have to look at it.
The shield.
But what I'm saying is, I don't think Eddie is edgy now because everyone grew up with it. Like now, edgy is, I don't know. I
think it went away for a while. That if it made a comeback, I think it could be cool. I don't know.
I mean, Eddie is cool. I just don't think he is edgy anymore, right? Like, I just think like edgy now is different than it was like years ago. I think people who want to be edgy now tend to start like just saying shitty things about people. Like,
if I saw an 18-year-old person like wearing an Iron Maiden shirt, I'd be like,
I get it too, but I don't know if it's edgy. Like maybe wearing like I don't know. So I don't know. Maybe wearing like a Care Bears t-shirt, but instead of a
no, that's overdone already. I'll just let you know, just because I'm on a lot of fashion shit. It's the 40th anniversary, and it's fucking on everything right now.
What, Care Bears?
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah. I saw both the Care Bear movies in the theaters. So
I'm on the Care Bear internet. You're on cringe internet.
I'm on the cringe internet. But I think rocking the Care Bears like in a space where things are supposed to be edgy is edgy. I'm totally for that, right? Like
I'm just mind blown that we're on vastly personal.
It's very weird.
I'm in a very safe bubble.
I'm very desensitized, like, because I just see so much stuff out there where people are just looking like just trying to be just weird as hell.
I mean, I get a little bit of that, but I'm just like, no. Just act like it's not happening because I just can't mentally handle it anymore. I'm in Care Bear land where everything's still safe in the 80s.
There's nothing wrong with Care Bear land. There's nothing wrong with Care Bear land.
Man. I say if I wore Care Bear stuff, people would be like, "Oh, you're old." If like an 18-year-old wore Care Bear stuff, they'd be like, "Yeah, that's retro, cool." You know, like that's the main fucking difference.
There you go.
But yeah, as I was saying, like I think it's what it was like, kind of like any, I would say, heritage or legendary like metal bands. I think on a much younger person than us, it would be kind of like retro and kind of throwback and cool. But like if we did it, we're like, it's dad vibes,
right? Put a Slayer t-shirt on.
Is key in any fashion fucking statement. But oh my god. But yeah, that sent me down a rabbit hole of like early metal or like metal of the 70s.
That's good metal though. I like that.
It is. It gets some credit, but not enough credit.
I like that kind of metal.
even like Boston, even people want to hate on that, but like that is some excellent guitar work.
Very good guitar works. Very good
So
guitar
I mean,
works.
I feel like they take a lot of influences from stuff like that and use it in a proper way.
Very effectively. Very effectively.
Yeah, I'm saying it doesn't come off as cheesy, it doesn't come off as whatever. They kind of take that kind of fun cheesiness of like Thin Lizzy or something, which I wouldn't even consider really that cheesy, but but use it in a very delightful way into something kind of new for like this era, But there's also woes in this song, so.
So the next song then is what was it? We just talked about Falter.
Away.
So Away.
Yeah,
we're on Away now.
Yeah.
Yeah, another one of my favorite tracks on the record.
Really, I'm okay with it. I think it's kind of just. I think it's the only.
It's a total sing-along song.
A latent like love song. The other ones are kind of like.
It's a total sing-along song. It works great. I played this one on my radio show also a lot.
I think.
And it's kind of an optimistic song compared to the rest of the record, and it has a very super catchy song melody. So that's why I like it, because like I said, it's a sing-along, and I think every punk band needs a really good sing-along. I like it.
I think it's a really good placement in this album, because it's like, okay, let me go back. Like, let's say Drag Me Down Lost to like where we're at now. It's pretty fucking bleak.
Well, and then the next song,
so this is like
the next song
nice
is really
palate
sad.
Cleanser. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is like a palate cleanser in the fucking meal right here. Is Away.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Which is, like I said, it's the most optimistic song compared to a lot of the other songs.
Yeah, I think it's the only really.
Yeah.
If we want to,
I liked it. Look, I like this song. I have a sweet tooth.
It was much needed.
Yeah.
Oh, is it Alone? It goes back to the bleaker theme, so kind of like.
Well, this is a song about depression, right?
Yeah.
Anyone who's had depression understands these lyrics, I think.
Yeah, I said it's like obviously about being alone, like isolation, possibly after like a breakup of some sort. Like having to reevaluate your equilibrium on things is a fucking miserable process. So,
and it's paired with excellent melodies and harmonies.
I know. Of course. They package all this bleakness so nicely.
Yeah, I got a lot to say about that too. I wrote a little thing here, but I'll leave that to the end for my final thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. Unclean. I think it's a classic punk story of war and dying in the name of religion.
Right. This is very much so.
Has one, right? I think every punk band, depending, has a song like this. For good reason. I mean, I think especially during this era, that was a big part of it. And if you're in any sort of history, which a lot of punks are, it's something we dealt with since the dawn of man.
We're still dealing with it today.
I know, exactly.
Right?
That's what I'm saying.
We still deal with it, and there's other battlefields than just like the fields of war, right? Politics, where these things are happening, where people's lives are at stake. And why are people's lives at stake? Well, because religion wants to continuously wriggle its fingers into our lives. That's putting it very mildly.
Yeah, I would say this is also a very classic kind of hardcore song for them.
Yes.
It makes sense.
It didn't have a standard sort of verse. It just kind of goes hard the whole time.
And I mean, that's definitely what I'm here for.
Yeah.
So I'm not mad at it. I'm not.
It's good. It's good.
But let's definitely talk about Mad Mad World. I think that's a song that
This is my favorite
unanimously
track on the
like as well.
Yeah. This one is really good. it's sad content, of course, because
Of course.
suicide is
I mean,
not
the title
fun,
itself says that,
right?
you know.
But the song is about suicide, right? Someone's dead in this
Yeah,
song, and
exactly.
but this makes it one of the best tracks, I think, of the 90s. Like,
Yeah, I think with the just to make it even more depressing, I say this is a very bleak song in the sense of like it's about like losing your friends, but it's also about the anticipation of who you're going to lose next.
yeah, it's sad.
It's a weird inevitability because like I think most people, if they've ever been in this circumstance, understand that it's like a chain reaction.
Yeah.
You know, and especially, I don't know, there's so many things that happened in the 90s, like, honestly, like, it could be drugs, it could be, you know, diseases, it could be a lot of things that happen that kind of, like, chain react like that. So, this song is really, really good as depressing and kind of
musically, it's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, it literally throws all the guitar work at you as much as possible. Like, out of any track, I think this is the one they kind of go the hardest on.
It's just I was gonna make a note here.
Yeah,
I was gonna make a note here. At the end of the song, the music and the drums just get faster and faster and faster, right? And then it fades out. It fades out, right? And it made me think about the song in general. Like, that's life, right? Like, life, as we get older, it seems to come at us faster and faster and faster, and then we just fade away. And I don't mean that to be like depressing or anything, but like, that's kind of how I see things. It's just like a life kind of burns, right? And then it burns really hot, and then boom, it's gone.
Yeah. And I think it's also really hard to write a song like that, honestly, because like you kind of need a climax to an end, but like just going straight for like the fucking sun is hard to do. So I think it's a really interesting choice, an appropriate song to make that kind of happen with. And obviously it's really good for like a circle pit, you know.
Oh yeah, no, I think this is an iconic Strung Out track.
Yeah, they've definitely I've seen them play this live several times. Like people lose their freaking minds.
Yeah, they should. It's fucking great.
Yeah, I don't think they play a whole ton from this album. I will say Mad Mad World, In Harm's Way, I've heard, and maybe one other random song I can't think of right now, is definitely like kind of in their like classic repertoire. So
well, there's one track left.
Yes.
14 Days, which is the 13th track, which just bugs me in such a weird way. But it's another really good song where I think the music betrays the sadness of the lyrics, right? It's a very upbeat, right? It's almost upbeat, but then like the song is about like depression and sadness, right? Like there's more of that on this record, which there's a lot of.
I have a theory about what the 14 days is. Just because I've kind of lived the same life. So like 14 days means like you've kind of worked 2 weeks straight.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like you ever work like long periods of time, like before getting a day off, and you're just like in this crazy, delirious, weird state. Like, yes, that's what I think this song is about. I could be obviously very wrong, as we talked about previously, but that's what kind of hit me when I was like really diving into this.
No, that's good. Know? That's a good take. I'm gonna go with it.
I will say this is probably the most positive track in the sense because at least in lyrically it's very bleak, but there's at least a little light at the end of the tunnel versus some of these just are just like, nope, shit is fucked. This one at least is kind of like, this sucks, but I can dig myself out of this. A little kind of hope, just a little seed of hope in it. Versus not, and I think that's a really good choice, especially for an ending song, because God, if they just kept going on this bleak track, I don't know.
Right.
Don't know
Right.
how this would have ended. So I think it works. I think it works for kind of a fade out kind of end of the album. You gotta give us something. You gotta give us maybe not the fairy tale ending, but like at least something to hold on to, something to
Sure.
grasp. You
A little
know?
glimmer.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, honestly, I don't listen to Strung Out for its optimism all the time.
Hmm.
I kind of like to be in that dark bleakness that they create, but at the same time, when they do write songs about optimism, it does feel 1,000% genuine.
Yeah.
You know, like I truly believe they mean it, and they're not doing it just to like fool us, or they don't think their audience is dumb.
No,
Like,
not at all. The lyrics don't feel contrived on this record at any point. They don't seem like they're just trying to be angsty or sad or angry for no particular reason. There's always good points. I always was drawn to the music, but then in going in and really kind of thinking about the lyrics, the music and the lyrics to me have a really interesting interaction on this album, because they're so like kind of upbeat, and even like the metal stuff, like they don't have like metal songs and punk songs very often don't have similar lyrical content.
no.
It's but I felt like the metal-esque of it really and really worked with the lyrical content. My biggest take here, and I guess this will sort of be my final thought here on the record. It's a great album. It serves as a blueprint for future Fat Records bands, I think. Metal
Yeah.
influence, skate punk, great melodies, amazing harmonies. It's kind of the foundation of that 90s punk resurgence. And there's a lot of traditional punk themes on here, like, fuck religion, fuck war, fuck the American dream. But there's a lot of sadness. We talked about that. And I think when people think of punk rock music, they don't think of sadness, right? They're thinking of anger, angst, rebellion. But sadness, alienation, depression are also themes that I think go hand in hand with punk music, which they do. There's a lot of punk bands that sing about those things. And some of the lyrics on this record are juxtaposed by these really fast, heavy songs with harmonies and sweet melodies. And it's to me, a very metaphorical cover for how sadness and depression are displayed in people. Like on the outside, we might seem fine and maybe even happy, but on the inside, like there's suffering. So that's my take on this record right there.
I have a couple of things. I would say I think this is a very well done debut album. Like, I feel like it's very well thought out. I think it's definitely a blueprint. Like, they can do many things very well. I think they're all very top tier musicians, technically, lyrically, what have you. I also like, so they're obviously fans of like metal and hardcore, and I will say, I think what makes the hardcore part of this kind of interesting to me, because I do love hardcore, but the reason I love hardcore, other than the fact that it's awesome, but it's a very positive mindset music. It is a very PMA, like, we're gonna do this, unity, blah blah blah. But after a certain point, you're like, I don't want to say it gets old, but it's just like it's a horse that's beaten to death. So like, being able to listen to something that has that hardcore kind of feel to it, but isn't necessarily like sunny as heck, is kind of refreshing. Like, like, hey, sometimes shit's fucked. Yeah. and honestly, sometimes hardcore songs that are like that are some of the best ones, even though, like, we're all on the same fucking team or whatever. But, having that kind of honesty within it really works. And so, like, that's something I kind of appreciate about them. I, being a punk and a metal fan, I live in this Venn diagram space a lot. So, like, I really appreciate that. And I think that's what I kind of fell in love with and I'm infatuated by this band, because, like, I know they can do classic skate punk, which is something I love. I know they're gonna fucking melt my face off of riffs, and then, you know, when I go to a show, it's gonna be like a hardcore show. So like I know it's gonna be fun 1,000 times over. They're probably, besides Bad Religion, the band I've seen.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, I don't know. I feel like this was a really good record out the gate. We will get into this shortly, but like a lot of people will say, well, hey, Twisted by Design was better, or Suburban Teenage Wasteland Blues was better, or like they constantly outdid themselves. So like I think a lot of people kind of pass this over in a sense, because there was a later album that somebody would fall in love with later. And yeah, I personally have an album I like better than this, but I wouldn't say it was necessarily better. I just say they're different, you know, because they at least try to give us something different or whatever is kind of reflective of the time. And I'm not gonna say it always works, because not every band can fucking do that. Like, that's so hard to do. Like, even bigger bands than them can't even do that. So, you know, but I think it's a phenomenal, great start. I think it manages expectations as a band. Like, hey, this is what we do. This is what we're going to continue to do until we die. And, you know, here it is. And I think, honestly, having this addition into Fat Records was a very, very smart move, because, yeah, they fit in with bands and can tour with bands like Lagwagon, but I don't think they sound the same. You know, like, I don't want to see the same kind of setup when people tour. Like, I don't mind if they're similar, but I don't know, like, like, I can only see Lagwagon and NoFX open up for each other so many times. And I love those bands, but like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, this at least is a really good palate cleanser, but without it being something wildly different, you know. It's very refreshing.
It's a good album. It goes pretty hard, I think. I don't think it's, you know, when we talk about some of the reviews that we found, or that you found, that one of the first things somebody says is, oh, another typical fat band, even though he doesn't mean it as an insult, right?
We kind of had to discuss, like, what terms does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, this is a moment in time, necessarily not an overall from what we've seen from that point until now, because that can mean a lot of things.
A typical fat band now definitely means something different.
Typical fat band now is like bad cop, you know, like, that's what I'm saying. Totally different than this particular time period. All right, so let's get into some of the reviews. So I am a master sleuth finding weird shit on the internet. I looked up in an archive from Punk Planet. If anybody remembers that, I'm one of probably the weirder people that did. I was really into Maximum Rock and Roll, Punk Planet, Caustic Troops, a lot of zines and what have you. This is from October of 1994 from Punk Planet. Maybe their third issue. I don't know what the 3 means on here, but I'm assuming that's what it means. And just to explain to anybody younger than us, is reviews used to be like 4 sentences in some of these like zines and things. So like, they're kind of funny, and sometimes not even about the album itself. It's just like some weird thought, but your album was reviewed. Oh man, I can't believe people had to do this manually, and just this is what they got months later, you know. You're like, let me mail you a copy of my album, and then it gets there, and then 4 months later, they're like, I wrote you 4 sentences.
Right.
You're welcome. You know, pre Web 2.0, you know.
Writing 5 sentences is ACAB, so.
So that's what I say. I'm just trying to set the stage of how things used to work. Did it work well? God, no. But this is what we had, right? So, okay. So this is the review for it, and we had to kind of decipher a little bit. This is like, I hate to stereotype this band, but they're a typical Fat Records release, which I think is a huge compliment. Great melodic hardcore that reminds me a lot of Lagwagon, but sort of different. I like it, ... because it rules. And it's somebody's initials WD. I couldn't find actually
because it rules
name.
is a pretty typical 90s review of something.
It rules. Yeah, that was vernacular right there. It rules. We should bring that back.
What do you like about it? It rules, man.
But I that brought me back for a while because I'm just like, man, I remember I hated reading some of these. And I'm like, did you fucking try? It's like some 19-year-old. I think this was written by some young dude in Alabama. I think this is where this publication came out from. Whoever WD is doing in Alabama right now, like, bless him. And then I went deeper into, weirdly enough, people like to review music on Amazon.
The Amazon reviewers write more sentences.
I still can't get over why people are compelled to do this. I mean, like, cool for us. Awesome, it gives us, like, content. But, like, of all places to write a review about an album, people choose
a punk
Amazon.
album.
Yeah, all the punks want to write on Amazon. So that's a lot to unpack within it. So, but it always comes up in every Google search I do.
You might as well look.
Like, okay, so I'm trying to see. Oh yeah, this is my favorite review just because it is so outdated from when it was written. I think it was written in like the mid 2010s or something. If I remember correctly, the username is Punk Viper. He gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The title is Back When Stuff Wasn't a Dime a Dozen. Wasn't capitalized. It says, with the glut of awful skatecore bands plaguing the earth, it would be easy to pass off Strung Out as another baggy pants teenage fad. Chef's kiss. Well, this was their first effort for Fat Records and their best. Back when they had a slightly metal tinge to their sound that made them stand out. Nowadays, they're just another melodic core band in an overcrowded field of them, which is too bad. But many formerly decent bands have followed their path. Parentheses Lagwagon. So it really isn't surprising. So if skatecore is your thing, any Strung Out album will do. But if you want to hear just another fat band Strung Out, then pick this one up.
How come punks can't ever say anything good about music without like talking shit about it? like it's so true. It's like you can't like admit that you like something without shitting on like everything else. It makes me laugh.
Yeah, I have a golden rule about that. Like, I know how hard people work to make music. Like, I genuinely do. So I try not to say that on the internet. I will literally tell you in person how I feel about something and shit all over it, but you will never find a digital footprint.
That's a good idea.
Because that's what I'm saying. I will have that conversation so we can at least talk about it in that context. I refuse to do it on the internet in any fucking form. It is obnoxious because it's just the world is full of it. Like
I have like, so when I reviewed things, right, like on TikTok, I did a bunch of reviews of albums and things like that. My personal belief is, why review something you don't like? You want to review music that you want people to hear. And so I would never review an album that I ever thought was like a 5 out of 10. For example, that was in fact where I would actually cut it. I would say a 6 out of 10 is at least where I would start, because I could say there's, a handful of really great songs on this record you should listen to, even if you don't like the rest.
I don't think there's anything wrong with ever critiquing music. I mean, I saw a local artist here kind of talk about that. Mm-hmm. Someone wrote on their comments, they're like, this song was good, but some of them others just didn't hit it. And like, I think that was a really respectful comment. Now, would I ever say that to an artist I like? Probably not. But he was just like, he's like, you're right. He's like, I write a lot of stuff and sometimes it just doesn't happen. Like that magic doesn't happen, and that's okay. Or maybe it's just not for you. And, he's like, songs aren't going to resonate with everybody. Mm-hmm. And I just, so yeah, I think it's good because it helps the artist understand their audience and kind of push them to do different things or whatever. But yeah, it's like, you know, we're all just fucking floating on this damn planet, just throwing shit against the wall, hoping shit sticks, you know?
Right.
Like, so we shouldn't be like super harsh on people either. But yeah, punk has the worst fucking fans sometimes.
Right. Punks are both like amazing and like just so frustrating.
Yeah,
like I don't want to like put punks down, and I'm not going to, but just sometimes I just like want to just face palm, you know. That's really that's where I want to go with that.
Yeah. Let's go into another one then. This is a 2 out of 5 stars.
Oh, okay.
It says only for old school punk fans.
Remember when this music wasn't old school? Like this was new school punk? I remember.
I know, right? I know. It's just the endless cycle of this.
Right.
This CD, I want to say that. This CD wasn't great, I'll be honest. All I seem to hear from punk fans these days is how bands like NoFX, Lagwagon, Strung Out, etc. started out good, but now have gotten worse and worse. In my opinion, these people could not be more wrong. How can anyone not like the new Lagwagon and NoFX CDs is beyond me. If people would stop and listen to the melodies in such CDs, then they would realize that change is not a bad thing. This CD was far too metal and not enough melody. Strung Out, stick to what you're doing in the moment. Exclamation.
It's a weird review.
Yeah, no, it's funny because like it starts out really like kind of what we're talking about. You're like, you know, just give it a fucking shot, you know? Like
cool
not everything
twist,
can stay the same.
I like the twist. You're like, no, the new albums are excellent.
They are. Yeah.
They are excellent. Like that. Like,
I agree with you, Amazon user, whoever
right?
you are.
Amazon user, yeah.
Yeah.
But then we get to the end with
Yeah.
the last sentence is so confusing. Strung Out, stick to what you're doing at the moment. That's what they were doing at the moment.
Yeah, but this person definitely dated themselves by using the word CD at least 4
Compact
times.
disc.
Compact disc. Yes. Oh man, I used to really rag on my husband Chris for listening to CDs in like the millennia. He had like 20 fucking CD jewel cases in his car at all times, and I'm like, you just juggle this and put him in your CD player? He was like, yeah.
That's crazy.
Who are you?
My CDs are now solely a conversation piece. I have them piled up and people can come in and be like, oh, look at this CD collection, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't listen to them. I just, you know, I stream music through my iPod, my iPod, through my phone.
Yeah.
And we can play it on the speakers here. We don't need to put these archaic devices inside a machine.
In true 90s fashion, I have mine in binders.
Well, I have a single binder that's got from when I made it a bunch of my favorite records in it, but I actually emptied it out and put them back into their cases.
Yeah.
And like I said, they're now all piled up neatly. If I listen to anything, and this is, of course, if I listen to anything, it's going to be on vinyl, and I'm going to listen to it for the experience of listening to something on vinyl.
Yeah.
And that sounds snobby as fuck, but I don't care. That's the only way I actually physically buy music now is vinyl or bust.
Exactly.
So,
well, let me go to a couple more things and then we'll wrap this beat up.
Sure.
So, lovely punk news. Eventually, I guess, wrote a review about this album for the re-release. So I was like, oh, cool. This people that have kind of seen what has happened with this band and then just kind of digging into the re-release. It's kind of long, so I'm only going to read like a little part of it. It says, the listener is floored by the get-go by population control, and the rest of the album refuses to let you up on your feet. Aggressive, speed-written, and catchy the whole way through, but Strung Out's metal influences pokes through with their heavy palm muting and shredding solos. The drumming is spectacular as always, however, it is interesting to listen to the chronological growth in Jordan Burns' talent, but he is leaps and bounds ahead of this album now. This is one of the first records that defined the new, talented, mulatto speed punk sound, and Strung Out would continue leading the genre in the years to come. Something that we were kind of talking about earlier. It says, 1994 will forever be known as the year punk broke again. But this was hidden in the shadows of Dookie and Smash.
Again.
uh, was this young 5-piece band with a little promise of their own. And I was like, yeah, I feel like that really, really summarized the album really
There you
well.
go.
Like I was saying, the musicianship on this album is very impressive. Like it, if you know anything about this band, it just kept getting more insane.
Right. Well, I was looking through their discography and I was like thinking, I was like, wow, I really do like this album a lot. But then I was like, oh, but I really love this record. And I really love this record, especially the stuff around like the turn of the century, which sounds really weird to say, but
I think it's why everybody's like, oh, this album's good. But I think it's because they outdid themselves later that people can't give this the flowers that it deserves, in a sense. I will say, like, to what Punk News kind of wrote here, like, if you know anything about Offspring has really fucking talented musicians in it too. So like being able to keep up with another band equally as talented, like, fuck.
Offspring's an interesting band to talk about also, but I mean, I know that's not what this episode is about.
Yeah, I have a love-hate thing with them, but say, like, they are very talented. So, like, you know, like, Noodles himself is fucking insane. Right. So, like, but I also think, you know, Strung Out Spaces is equally, if not on par. Yeah. So, you know, even though they don't have the same fame. But... And I think probably the last thing I'll touch on, just because I thought it was just a strange thing I actually found and it kind of worked, was I did find a review in Italian on this album. So I feel it gives us a nice international flair for once.
Let's go.
You know, I will say this album's probably more American, even though Strung Out has a ton of fans everywhere, and enough to where an Italian person would write a review about it.
That's pretty cool.
So, it actually was really good, especially for Google Translate. This album came out back in '94 and unfortunately did not achieve the success it deserved, as it struggled with the albums such as Punk and Drublic, Smash by Offspring, which attracted the attention of world critics. When I heard it for the first time and came into contact with this band, I literally struck by their sound, a mixture of power and speed with combined with highly political lyrics. After the attention of the media dropped from the two commercial great phenomena that became Offspring and NoFX, the album acquired the attention it deserved, and songs like Broken or Lost, they became real punk hits. The album was followed by a first American and European tour, which, however, was not very successful. Punks that are living in the underground, and luckily Strung Out did not break down and continues to produce great hardcore.
There you go. They do. They're still making music, aren't they?
Yeah, as I was saying, I really liked what they had to say about that. I kind of liked the fact that they followed up with the fact that, you know, like, they tried to tour and be as big as these albums at the time, but because of what was happening, it was really hard for them to break through on either continent, you know, which I think is a super interesting perspective. You know, like, I don't really see anybody else kind of write like that. So. Yeah,
it is nice to get a non-American perspective, because so much of American media, even I would say DIY media, is just American, right? Like, you're not gonna, we don't write about Italian bands, but Italian bands will write about us.
Yeah, I usually see, weirdly, either a lot of German, South American kind of stuff about punk, because it's just bigger there. But this is like the first like Italian one I've seen in a long time. So I was like, oh, but no, I think it really nailed like what happened that year when this album came out. You know, like, you're in a very heavy competition with other very big, heavy, which sucks is like,
I hate that it's a competition though. That just sounds so weird.
Well, the music industry is a competitive space,
I guess.
But I think what really sucks is the fact that Punk and Drublic also came out, which, you know, I'm sure they're just like on their recording schedule for Fat Records. It makes sense. That's how it's done. But that one was ultimately competing with this one in the same year. So, like, if there's going to be tours, you know, which you do after an album comes out, like, that one just happened to be the bigger
Sure.
tour.
If you had to pick a show, you're like, well,
I'm sure they also toured together, so I mean maybe that like helped in their favor, but I mean I don't really know the facts behind that. Ugh, that would be such a bummer. Like you're on the same label, you put out these records in the same year, and then one is ultimately fucking ridiculously more successful. True. It's like when actors try out for the same pilot and then your friend's career blows up and you feel like a failure. Like I feel a little bit of heart tinge for that.
Yeah. Like, I do think the career though for Strung Out went real well. I mean, they're probably,
I think they had the longevity of it. I think was worth it in a sense. Like NoFX is up and down all the fucking time,
right?
And they're good in their own right, but I think Strung Out are slightly better musicians in a different way, and they are very consistent in a good way. So even their most mediocre album for Strung Out is still really good.
Sure.
So, like I don't fall in love with like every single thing they do, but I'm just like, oh man, this at least has a handful of songs I will
where you still want to listen to it, right? Like even if when it comes out, you're like, I gotta play it.
I can't say that about NoFX, But they have albums that are really good. Like Punk Drive is a good
great album.
Like I'm not gonna say it's not, but I don't listen to it anymore because I've heard it too many fucking times.
You don't want to listen to Linoleum again?
Even they don't want to listen to Linoleum
right?
again. And I feel really bad.
Hasn't Linoleum become like the Freebird of punk songs? Isn't that like?
No, they retired it. Remember, right? They did.
Yeah, they retired it, but have other people retired it? That's the question.
No one. It will never be retired by a certain type of punk band. Never. It is you're right. It is the Freebird of fucking.
I kind of want to start like requesting it now at like other people's shows. No, I'm not going to. Bad Religion, play Linoleum.
They probably have.
If I could find Bad Religion playing Linoleum, that'd be pretty fucking awesome.
I think they have played NoFX just as a joke because I don't know. I just feel like that's happened because like Fat Mike dick rides fucking Bad Religion so bad. Like I've never seen him not crash their show when he's there.
Yeah, I was about to say there was a period of time, like every time I went to San Francisco to see Bad Religion, Fat Mike was there and he would come out and sing during 21st Century Digital Boy every single time.
Yeah.
And everybody, it's funny because every Bad Religion fan hated it. We're like, oh God, he's gonna come out and sing. And I saw them again in December. December. He didn't do it. We were so happy.
He's like,
me and my friend were making bets. We're like, you think Fat Mike's coming out? It's like, oh yeah, if he's here. And we're like we fucking hope not. And like,
it's only probably because of COVID.
Probably. Well, we were kind of opening things up. They were still requiring masks and a vaccine card. We had to use a vaccine card.
Okay, but still, he's probably like, I don't want to kill Bad Religion.
Oh my gosh! It's like, you guys are elderly. I don't want to murder you.
I know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You're all pushing 60.
No, but I think it's very enduring because if I was Fat Mike in the same position, I would absolutely.
You're like, dude, I'm going out there. I'm Fat fucking Mike. Let's go.
I too have that much love for Bad Religion that I would be like really excited, and I'd be like, yeah, I want to see them every time they fucking play. I
do try to see them every time they play come by. Exactly. So I mean,
yeah, is it a little overzealous? Sure, but like, do I understand it? 1,000%. That's why I'm like, but, and then also, same thing, just to kind of wrap this up, every time Strung Out is here, even if it's on a fucking Monday,
you gotta do it.
I'm gone.
Gotta do it.
Yeah, I can't help it.
There's some bands you have to you just have to go see, especially if they don't tour a lot, right? You're like, you know what? If I don't see them now, I may not see them again.
No, that is not.
Well, not with Strung Out, probably not. But you know what I mean? Like, there's some other artists where I'm like, well, if I don't see them this time, what if they don't come around? What if they break up? What if they have like there's some artists I like for example Billy Bragg. I have to see him every time he comes around because he doesn't come around very often, right?
No,
and when he does, I'm there, and so
I think I've seen him once. I don't even remember, honestly.
It's a good show. It's a good show.
Yeah.
Got to depending on the venue, he'll stay afterwards and you can come and talk to him. It's really cool. Yeah, he's a true man of the people.
Have you seen Strung Out Live?
I have seen Strung Out Live once at their own show. I'm trying to remember who they played with. I'm looking at like posters on the back here. It was one of those. No, I saw them. It has to be. They must have played with No Use for a Name. That's the only thing that's coming to my head is like Strung Out and No Use for a Name, which makes a lot of sense.
I think I know what tour you're talking about. Like I've literally seen
them every other year. But I've only seen them once at their own show. The rest have been like Warped Tour type deals. But I saw them. I definitely saw Strung Out in Santa Cruz, California, and I think it was at the Catalyst. I think that's where it was. I think.
Yeah. I remember the first time I saw him was like a very weird. It was like the old emos here in Austin, and I think they were the headliner, but like their van broke down.
That's crazy.
Like, the first time I was going to see them, right? So I was like bummed. I was like, I don't know if they're going to make it, and they like people try to extend their sets, like the openers and things like that, and they literally were like 5 minutes late. Fucking like there were like no sound check, nothing. And, like Jason literally duct taped the mic to his fucking
That
head.
is some punk rock shit right there.
It was like weirdly impressive for no reason. And he was like, no, this is fucking happening. He's pissed. Like
I mean,
it was an intense set for no sound check.
I was gonna say punk rock is a good way to get anger out of your system, at least.
Yeah, it was just balls to the wall. They're like, look, we have 35 minutes.
I remember the tour I saw them on, and it was the Element of Sonic Defiance tour. Right.
Oh, okay.
I'm a big fan. I'm actually a big fan of that record. I like that one. Good EP.
Yeah. That was a while.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Yeah, it was a long time ago. It's 2000.
Yeah, I think it's like 2006 when I saw
They might have been playing with Rise Against also, not necessarily No Use. I don't remember. I saw Rise Against like 3 or 4 times in the early 2000s, and I think they might have played with them.
Lucky you.
It was a great. Well, that was like, yeah. I also saw Rise Against with Against Me, which was fucking awesome.
Yeah,
it was an amazing show.
Sure.
Now, but we could. I'm sure we could do the 6 Degrees of Separation game with punk for forever.
Yeah, because all of those people definitely toured in this period of time. So
okay, well, final thoughts on the album. Love it. Good record.
Yeah, definitely should be up. Okay, let's say like I'm like this imaginary list that I made for the albums that came out. I would say it's definitely in the 15th, the top 10%. Comparatively to all the other albums listed for this year. For
1994, for punk records, it's definitely on the high one. I think it sneaks in. I'd have to really go over things a little more, but I think it sneaks in.
Yeah, as I'm saying, I had to guess top of my mind.
Under the radar, because you're not going to throw it out first, right? But then when you do talk about it, you're like, oh yeah,
I would say
that's
top
a really
25.
good record.
Top 25, more than half.
It's hard for me to rate that way without doing. I got to do like a tournament bracket, and
oh my god, maybe that should be the finale of everything.
Tournament bracket, the greatest album.
Bracket. I mean, we could do it.
You never know.
But I think I would die by the end of it, honestly. Yeah. And I think from our very, very biased fucking opinions, we probably end up picking Bad Religion Stranger Than Fiction as number one.
It's a pretty good record. I mean, like, if I have to be analytical about it, I don't know if I could pick that as number one, because I think there's other albums that, like,
I'm gonna be honest, it'll probably be my top
would
five.
be in
just
mine
because
too.
I'm
All right,
asshole.
I'm not saying it wouldn't be a top album. I'm just saying I couldn't pick it as number one and feel honest.
No, I wouldn't feel honest about it. I'm not saying that. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's over the threshold, is what
Easily.
I would say. Like the middle mark. Yeah, it isn't. It wouldn't be absolutely life changing for everybody that ever listened to it, but I don't think anybody would ever regret.
I think it's like a
listening
tier
to it.
2 record for that year, right? Like if we had to like make up like arbitrary tiering systems, there's ones that you're gonna come off the tip of your tongue really fast, and then there's others you're gonna be like, oh yeah, that's a really good one. But
if this was a fantasy bracket, it would make it to the playoffs.
easily.
And that's as far as my sports
That's good
goes.
enough.
Everybody's...
And I think that wraps up another episode.